In this first question up here, we are asked 45 is what percent less than 50? So this is another type of percent comparison question, similar to the ones we did in the previous video, except with the difference here, we're not given the percent, we're being asked to find the percent. The keywords that let you know you're dealing with this type of question are what percent greater or more or fewer or less. Essentially, what percent is asking for a percent, and then these words greater, more, fewer, or less lets you know you're dealing with a comparison question. So the steps to translating these types of questions, eventually solving them, or translating these word problems into algebra and then solving the algebra, are fairly straightforward. You first find the difference between the two quantities compared. You then divide that difference by the quantity that comes after the word than, and you convert that fraction that you get into a percent. So to see how these steps work on an actual question, let's take a look at these. So once again, this first question is asking us 45 is what percent less than 50? We're comparing 45 to 50, and the difference between these two is 5. Reality, what we've done is we've seen that 45. We're just by finding the difference, we're saying that 45 is 5 less than 50. But we want to express that as a percent, so we're going to divide this 5 by the quantity that comes after 50, after than, which is 50. So if you remember from the previous videos on comparisons, the whole point was to define the first quantity in terms of the second. We're doing something very similar here. What we're actually doing is we're defining the difference in terms of the second quantity. So this difference of 5, we're finding the ratio of this difference to this second quantity. So once again, the key is being able to figure out what that second quantity, or what that quantity after than in this case is. So we have this ratio, or we have this fraction 5 over 50. This is the difference divided by the quantity after than. We want to convert that to a percent because the question is asking about percents. And we'll do that by multiplying top and bottom by 2, getting 10 over 100, which is 10%. So let's practice these steps a couple more times. Question number 2 asks, if Abby jogged 15 miles yesterday and Mike jogged 12 miles, the distance that Abby jogged is what percent greater than the distance Mike jogged? So we're comparing the distance Abby jogged, which is 15, and the distance Mike jogged, which is 12, and the difference between those is 3. And we want to write this as a ratio or rather we want to divide this by the quantity after than. So the question is the distance Abby jogged is what percent greater than the distance Mike jogged. So we're dividing this 3 by the distance Mike jogged, which is 12. That comes down to 1/4. So once again, we're finding the ratio of the difference to the second quantity, or the quantity after the word than. And we're going to convert this fraction 1/4 to a percent. You do that by multiplying top and bottom by 25, which gives us 25 over 100, or 25%. Let's do the last one. So this question goes, the same scarf costs $80 in store X and $100 in store Y. By what percent is the price of the scarf greater in store Y? We are comparing the price in store Y to the price in store X. Now this question is a little bit trickier because it doesn't have the word than. So what we can do is we can just add it. We can rephrase this as, by what percent is the price of the scarf greater in store Y than in X? So we now have something that's a bit more similar to the previous two questions in that we can now use our steps on. So we're comparing the price in store Y, which is 100, to the price in store X, which is 80. The difference between these two, oops, it's not 80, not 880. 100 minus 80 is 20. The difference in prices is 20, and we're going to divide that by the quantity comes after than, which is X. So we're dividing by 80. We're, in other words, finding the ratio of the difference to the second quantity in the comparison, which in this case is 80, which is the price in store X. 20 over 80 again reduces to 1/4, and so as we saw in the previous example above, that's 25%. So once again, the steps are, when you are being asked to find the percent in a comparison, first of all, you know you're dealing with it if you see the keywords what percent greater, more, fewer, or less. And the steps are to find the difference between the two quantities compared, divide by the quantity that comes after the word than. This is generally the second quantity in the comparison. And then convert this fraction, this difference divided by this second quantity, into a percent.